Working Artist Project is brought to you by Second Line Arts Collective. Learn how you can support at secondlinearts.org.
We're creating a platform for those who are curious, one that tells the story from the artist's perspective. Moments in time, captured from the innovators who are reshaping dance, music, theater, and the visual arts. This is the Working Artist Project.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Good evening, and welcome to the Working Artist Project. My name is Darrian Douglas, and we are here once again. What up, Greg?
Yeah, it's Monday night again, man. What's up? How are you?
I'm good, man. I can't believe, you know what? This is a good week, man. This is a good week. All good stuff is happening this week, man. I'm getting my COVID shot on Friday.
You getting the second dose?
Second dose, baby. I'm gonna be 100% immune. That's how it works, right? 100% immune.
I'm pretty sure. I think it's 120% immune.
Oh yeah. I can't get nothing now, bro. I can't even get a cold.
Yeah, as long as it's got the number 19 in it, you can't get it.
There you go. But tonight is a special night, man, because we have the one and only Will Thompson tonight, and he's gonna educate us on what it's like to be a person that leaves the financial industry and decides to become a full-time musician, man. I think he's crazy, man. I don't know, man.
I mean, he must be a little crazy. I mean, we're all crazy, but as long as you can channel the crazy into a positive direction, hey, that's what it's all about. But
there you go.
But before we bring Will on, and man, Darrian, we got a whole bunch of stuff happening this summer that we need to.
Oh yeah, that's right. That's right. We got a brand new summer camp called the Sanaa Music Workshop, and this year we're gonna do it 100% online because of COVID, y'all. So we got to make some changes, and you guys can go and check that out on our website at secondlinearts.org.
Totally. So if anyone has a young person, if you know any young people out there that between the ages of 14 and we would say 22, who are actively pursuing music, whether it be in an in-school setting, privately, or taking group lessons or some sort of some type of music program like that, please direct them to secondlinearts.org, and you can find out more about our program. This is going to be our 5th year. And like Darrian said, we're going to be doing it virtual. We have some amazing artists, cats like Marquise Hill, Braxton Cook. We got Miss Bria Skomberg,
absolutely,
and a bunch of amazing musicians. So we're definitely trying to create and make the most amazing virtual summer camp experience possible. So check out the website and get registered. And we hope to see you over the summer.
That's right. We got some scholarships, and so don't worry about the money. Just sign up and we'll figure that out. Also, Greg, we have a brand new newsletter, and we want everybody to go sign up for our newsletter, especially if you listen to this podcast or watch this podcast. Go sign up for it. And it's basically, we call it Take 5, but not the cheesy kind, like the cool kind. You know what I'm saying? You know what I mean? And me and Greg are break. I like that. We'll take turns kind of writing different little blurbs to you guys about creativity and success and running a nonprofit and all the other beautiful things that we got going on. Why don't we get right into the show?
So we're super excited to bring on our next guest. His name is Wilbur Thompson, and I met him here in New Orleans. He's a fantastic bassist, and also an amazing songwriter. And I heard we'll talk about this a little later, but he's gonna be making his singing debut, and also the debut of his new album coming up soon. So we're gonna take on that. But before we do that, we really want to talk to Will about finances. Will has a very interesting story of being involved in the financial industry and then leaving to become a musician. So I think Will's going to give us a lot of perspective on how to prepare for a career in the arts financially. So y'all, let's give it up for Will Thompson.
Will, welcome to the show, man. How you doing?
Hello, everyone. Can you hear me? Can you see me?
We can hear you. We can see you. Look beautiful, man. Wow. Look at you.
Get all this hair on my face now. The COVID beard, man. The COVID beard.
Man, you have a distinguished beard, man, because you got that touch of gray in it, and man, it's beautiful.
What's that commercial? That just for me. I got just for
Old school right there, bro. That's old
Yeah.
school. I like that.
Well, how you feeling, man?
Hey, I'm feeling good, man. Thank you guys for having me on. I am so happy and proud of you guys for this project you guys put together, especially the Second Line Arts and this podcast. You guys do some great stuff for local independent artists and young musicians. I appreciate it, man.
Man, thank you, brother. Thank you. Well, let's jump right in, Will. Let's get a people an overview of who you are and where you come from, and let them know why you gave up all that millions of dollars to pursue a career at the base, man.
Oh man, well yeah, man. Well, I grew up in South Carolina. A PK kid, so I grew up playing music in church, playing bass in church, and trombone actually. Grew up playing all that in church, and went to college, studied music, was a classical trombone major actually.
Oh,
you're a classical trombone major?
Yeah, man.
Are you serious?
Wow.
Yeah, a lot of people know that. I studied classical trombone for 4 years, and I got to college and they had an upright bass in the closet. I was like, oh man, I like jazz. Let me learn how to play this thing. So took it out the closet. They had some guy come in maybe once a week, and next thing you know, I was playing gigs on bass versus playing trombone. So
I'm gonna tell you my bass. I have a great bass joke. I'll tell y'all after though.
I'm sure you got bass and trombone jokes, right?
No, I don't mess with trombone players. They kind of scare me.
But yeah, I did that. I studied both of that. I went to school in Rock Hill, school called Winthrop, right outside of Charlotte, North Carolina. So I kind of cut my teeth on I grew up playing gospel in my dad's church. Got to college and started playing jazz more. So cut my teeth on the Charlotte jazz scene with there's some cats like Steve Gordon. I don't know, he was a cat. I know you guys in New Orleans know a lot. So kind of did a lot of work with him and Ashland and those guys. So I did that in college. And as you guys know, sometimes life just hits. So I ended up looking for a job, which was supposed to be for a short amount of time. And I applied for a job at a bank, and they had this fancy name. It was like relationship banker. I thought it was a teller. I was like, I just need a job for a few months because I was gonna move to Atlanta, and I was gonna do all this soul music. I was like, I'm heading out, so I just need a job for a few months. And lo and behold, this job, it was like basically a personal banking job that I had no idea. They stuck me in like Valentine, which is one of like the ritzy areas of Charlotte. No, I didn't have any educational training in finance, but I was pretty good on my own. So they stuck me in this area and said, "Here you go."
Wow, interesting. Yeah. I thought you was gonna come on here and tell me you went to school for in mathematics and this and that, but you kind of did it old school. You was like, you just showed up and said, "I can do this."
Old school. Well, along the way, I've always been good with money. Like, my parents set me up with a savings account when I was 13. When I got to college, I was always like, I was gonna talk about this later, but I figured out how to take my money that I made from that I got from my refund check, and I treated it like it was a job and income, and I sectioned it every month and paid myself and that's how I paid my bills. So I always had kind of a mind that worked like that, budgeting. I was creating budgets for myself and my friends in college. So
wow,
when I got out and I got to this industry, it kind of made sense. It was what I did for myself already. So I just did it for other people.
I see.
Yeah. So I did that for two years, worked on at this bank, BB&T Bank, did relationship banking. I did personal finance. I did consulting. I helped out with, like credit, did a little bit of prepping for business banking, a little bit of not investing itself, but kind of help my clients moving them in those directions. Kind of did a little bit of everything. So I did that for 2 years. Took a break, worked on a cruise ship for a little while, which is how I met Ashland and Greg.
You met Ashland on the cruise ship?
I met him playing a gig in Charlotte when I had took a break. I played a gig in Charlotte. He's like, "Hey man," the first time I met him, "You want to go on a cruise ship with me, man? I'm about to go and do a tour on a cruise ship." So I like, yeah, let's go, man. So I took a break, did a couple months on a cruise ship, came back to the bank for a little while, taught school for a year, and then I tried to do the music thing once, right after that, and it failed. So I went back to the financial industry, and that's when I went to work for a investment company for the next 6 years. And I did everything from being a product expert and a knowledge bank for clients. And then I moved on to an area where I worked just with the financial advisors, and because they were all independent, so they would call us for like questions about their products, about retirement accounts, ins and outs, how that worked. And then I moved from that area to what was called, I was an integration manager. And so I took advisors who, let's say, worked at Bank of America, but they felt like Bank of America was taking too much of their profit. So they said they want to go on their own. They would come to my company, and I would be one of the guys that would vet them, that would take them through compliance, check everything, then help them, walk them through setting their office up and, moving their clients over. So I did that for 6 years. And then that's when everything hit the roof.
And is that when you came back down to New Orleans after?
Yeah. So after those 6 years, life was, I'll tell you guys, I had brought a nice home at that point in Rock Hill. And I'm not saying this to brag, but just to kind of tell you where I was. I had like a 5,000 square foot house. I was taking trips, going to like the Bahamas. I was living that. But something was missing, and a really good friend of mine, I don't know if you guys know Chris Bullock, tenor player, plays with Snarky.
Yeah, absolutely.
So he's one of my closest friends. We grew up together from like 13, and that's how I started playing jazz. Me and him he put a trio together, and I'd be in his room, he playing CDs. I'm trying to just gospel bass player, trying to learn Ron Carter bass lines. But he was coming through town, and I the band was kind of getting it going. He called me to come see a gig. I was like, oh man, I really miss playing. I was still playing at church a little bit, still playing the gigs, maybe on Saturdays here and there at a Sullivan's, steakhouse, but never. Wasn't really playing. I was working all day, sometimes 12-hour days. So I was like, okay, I missed something. So I went and said, Chris, I'm coming to visit. I said, all right. So I went to New York, stayed with him and Miles for a week. I said, man, this is too fast. I can't do this, man. I'm a little country boy. So I called Ashley. Me and Ashley lost touch. But I said, Ashley, hey, man, you in New Orleans? He's like, yeah. So I'm going to come visit. It's like, come on down. I came down for a week and shouldn't have did that. I went down there for a week.
Never came back.
I came back home. I turned in my 2-week notice to my job. My parents were like, what are you doing? I put my house up for sale. Wow. My boss was like, I left to go on vacation, and now are you leaving? And I was like, sorry, put my house up for sale, packed up my little car. I had my bass, I had my upright, my electric, 2 amps, and clothes. And I was like packed up, driving on the street. I've never even driven to New Orleans before that. I'm just.
Wow. Boy, that's an incredible story, man, because there's another level of love that you have to have for music for you to give all of that up. It wasn't like, like me and Greg, we was 18, we ain't had nothing. We were just like, all right, we're gonna be musicians. Like,
we had nothing to lose.
Yeah. It's not really a big deal when you choose it at 18, but when you make a career in something else and you're really successful, for you to be like, you know what I'm gonna do? This house, man, I don't really need this house, man. Because it was just you living in a 5,000 square foot house, right?
Yeah. I had some previous life, but at that point it was me living in a 5,000 square foot house, man. Just me, man. And it was a 5,000 square foot bachelor pad.
That's bro. I've been living in New York too long. I don't even know how big 5,000 square feet is, but I'm pretty sure my New York apartment was probably 100 square feet. And and it was like, has a closet. You like, yes, has a closet.
Man, but that's a good point you said, man, because I made that jump. I was 33 when I decided to move to New Orleans. So I had been out of college for about 10, 11 years at that point. So this was like, okay,
right,
no net, let's go.
Wow.
But like I said, which I'm sure you guys get to, I had been doing some preparation in my mind, financially about how to do this. So
Okay,
So
what was that preparation? Oh, sorry,
let's
Greg. Go
yeah,
ahead.
let's dig into that, because I'm like listening to this. I'm like, all right, you're
yeah,
obviously the most courageous one of the three of us right now. So I'm all ears, Will.
yeah.
So
So
yeah, how did you get all that?
I'm a big believer in faith. You see behind me, I got this thing, my faith here. But I I the idea had been in my mind for a little while. Like, okay, I miss playing music. I miss playing music, right? But at the same time, I was always a saver. Like I said, I always believed in saving for the emergency. So, I would get extra money, and I would put it in my account. I would take those trips sometimes, but I would live way below my means in order to stack away. Because, like I said, when you live by yourself, you have this kind of house, these kind of bills. All it takes is 1 or 2 months that you don't do well, and you are on the street.
Yeah.
So, in any industry, so I needed to make sure I had a backup. So I would take, the little money I made, I would take bonuses. I would work extra. I would do those type of things in that industry to stack up. And when I made the decision to move, it wasn't a blind decision. It was a big decision to leave all that. But I had been stacking up to an amount. I had in my mind, okay, I know how much I think it's going to take me to live, let's say about a year. If I had no income. So I was like, I want to go there and give myself a full year. If I fail, I'll move back to Charlotte, go back to my whole life. So all that was predicated on me having the opportunity to pursue the career, and that took some finances to be able to do that. So
Yeah. Now, Will, man, I'm big on saving and all of that stuff too,
yeah,
and investing and I always say that the only person I know who is debt free is me and Greg. It's
yeah.
especially in the music industry where people
Oh
go to
yeah.
school and stuff like that.
Yeah.
What
Me
can just or anybody do to kind of prepare themselves to go after a dream like you did? Like what are
Yeah.
some practical things that they can do?
Well, man, there's several. So I know a lot of people who may be listening are probably full-time musicians. So there's a couple of things. Some of them are less popular than others, but one would be, like I did. I had a day. I took a day. I took a day gig. Eventually, I was going to leave. So, taking whether it's a day gig or a side hustle, I guess you would call it a side hustle, and using that hustle for the intent, because they always say if you don't plan your money will plan you, right?
Yeah.
So if it's something as simple as I can't think. I mean, I did everything from when I was a little kid. I would like mop I would clean my grandmother's business. I would take every little dollar and put it in an account. So something as simple as getting a second job. Usually that's the easiest way to do it. If you can't find a side hustle that doesn't interfere with your main income, then that's going to let you save freely without adding into it. I guess, for musicians, things such as, teaching lessons, working in the school system sometimes, or just get, like I said, a side hustle at a restaurant. I know I have a really good friend who's a monster tenor player, and he started waiting tables because he was getting really good tips waiting tables, and just doing something like that just to get to a point to build a cushion, because all you really need, in my opinion, is like about a good 3-month cushion, or what they call it, an emergency fund, something that would get you to the point where I can get some breathing room. You always want to, in my opinion, start off at least a good month or two ahead. So let's say if you're in high school or you're in college, that's a great time to start. That's a great time because sometimes your parents are still helping you, or sometimes you're getting refund checks. Let me tell you, your refund check is your best friend if you get one. I promise you. That's an easy way for you to go ahead and stack away for 4 years. If you're getting a scholarship, don't use it. Don't go buy shoes. Don't go buy stuff you don't need. Put it away, because after 4 years, you will be amazed at how much you have to go into to give yourself a fair shot to pursue a career as a gigging musician. So.
Absolutely. I love that. I love that.
I'm so happy to hear this. There's three of us.
Yeah, debt
That's love.
free, no school payments, none of that. I don't
Yeah.
owe anybody anything.
There you go. See?
You know, it's funny because I'm like listening to you say all this, and it's like it's kind of just the way my personality has always been. And I think Darrian's kind of the same too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Man, was there like just out of curiosity, man, is there like an incident or like memory that you have that like kind of like inspired you to save and things like that? Like how did you build that into your personality? I
Man,
know some people that just spend like crazy.
oh, man, you know, I think when I was 13, I started. My grandma had a daycare center, and after school, I would go and I would like mop the floor, clean the bathroom. You know, I would just like do the dirty work, and I would get like $20 a week. I work 5 days a week and get $20, right? And then I would also play at my dad's church. You know, when I was in school. But of course, that's my dad, so it wasn't like he was gonna like, we ain't really paying you no money. You my son. You playing this church, you go sit down and play this bass. So, but a little bit I got, I started just putting it into an account. On small, even something as silly as when my parents would give me lunch money when I was in school, you know, to go to lunch, I would take half the money to eat lunch, and the other half I would save. You know,
Right.
instead of buying lunch, I would go to the machine and get cookies and a soda, and I funded my first, you know, real nice trombone doing that throughout in high school. So, but so I think it was natural, but I think what made me start saving is I knew I wanted to be a musician, and the musicians I knew were all broke and they were struggling. And I was like, I do not want to be broke. I don't want to struggle. I don't mind not having a lot, but I don't want to have to. I was very independent. I didn't want to have to call my mom and dad. That was a big one. I didn't want to have to call back home and say, I need some money to pay my rent. You know, I did not want to do that. So I said, whatever it takes to do this, I have to. And for me, the easiest way was the extra money I got because I went to school and I didn't have to pay for school, thankfully. Whatever money I had, let's put it in an account. You know, you don't have to go hang out on the weekends. You know, I had a decent instrument. It wasn't the best, but I was using the school's bass for a while. So I was like, take all this money, put it to the side. And, you know, I think it takes the word is discipline. It takes a lot of discipline just to put yourself in that mindset and think of the future. So the answer to the question was more so I just was afraid. I didn't want to go back. There's too much pride. I didn't want to go back and ask my parents for help. That's what made me start to say.
Yeah, man. It's funny because you took me back to my first refund check, and Greg, no, I was not frugal. I went to the drum store, you know, took some girls on some dates, you know, so like back in college, you know, shoot, take a girl to Wendy's, my dude, you know, like it's just, but I spent all my refund checks. It took me a long time to kind of get myself together. My brain together.
Yeah.
You know what, Will? Maybe you read this book, but the first book I read was The Automatic Millionaire. You know about this book?
Yeah, I don't think I read all of it, but I know there's a couple of methods to becoming a millionaire. I know there's some methods in that one, but yeah.
That was like the first financial book that I read. I got it at Barnes and Noble back when people went to bookstores.
Oh man, with the coffee shop in there too.
Yeah. Some people in here might remember bookstores. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
What are books?
The smell of it.
but that's amazing, man. And I was just in the comments asking people, you know, would they give it? What would they do to achieve their dreams? You know, like what would you do to really? And that's something because you've done that. You did anything that needed to be done. And I'm curious, like, because you talked about failure, like the one time you tried to be a musician and failed. What did you learn from that experience of failure?
Well, you learn a lot. So, what had happened was I was teaching music, general music in school. So, students, I'm sorry for y'all who had me as a teacher. I apologize. I was not prepared to be a teacher. But I here, and at the end of that year, I said, okay, you know, I'm not going back. I'm going to give this music thing a shot. And I had a little bit of money saved, but I wasn't prepared of how I was going to do it. So I just was like, cool, I'm in Rock Hill, South Carolina. I'm going to play music full time. And I didn't really plan on like was there really a scene there? You know, because you have to be realistic. Like Charlotte, there's a lot of great players there, and there is a scene. But at the time, because I had been out in another industry, I wasn't really in that scene, and I hadn't really taken the time before I just jumped to like make those contacts. I was playing on weekends. People knew where I was. I was playing like the restaurant, some of the stuff like that. But it wasn't anything consistent enough where I was getting those type of gigs. So I went in and I basically just gave it about a good year, and said there just wasn't enough work for me to really maintain. So after about a year, I was like, I got to go back. To this. But what I did learn is if I did it the next time, I knew that I needed maybe a bigger cushion so I can give myself more time. And I needed to do the preparation like before I jumped out there, you know, start making those connections with the people that were in town or people that knew who I was. So But also what I learned is I learned that there was more music in me than I thought, because when I went on my own, I had to take on more of a business-minded personality. I'm an independent contractor now. I'm my own business, and it made me start thinking a little bit more outside the realm of just a side man. Because I was like, I learned that I went broke doing that. People call me for gigs. Call me for a gig,
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So Will, maybe I want to dig back into the finance thing a little bit, but you were saying again, like get a cushion, you said aim to get like 1 to 3 months of living expenses in the bank and secure. What are some other like just basic pieces of advice that you have for musicians, but also everyone into kind of handling their finances?
Main thing, first thing, most important thing, budget. You got to have a budget, because like I was saying before, if you don't plan your money will plan you. And it's not always that, you know, as musicians or as artists or creators or anybody who works, who doesn't have who has irregular income, it's not always that you don't make enough money. It's just sometimes you don't budget it right. So for me, the budget is key, because the budget does 3 things. Well, first of all, what is a budget? It tells you what your income is, what your expenses are. It tells you what you made this month, or who paid you what. It tells you who you owe. It tells you when you owe. And, it gives you a visual representation of your cash flow, and that's important. You got to start there, otherwise you behind the 8 ball. So it does that. The second thing that why I think the budget is key is, like I said, it helps you to organize, because as a person with irregular income, you have to, your income changes every month. So somebody who has a 9 to 5 gets paid every 2 weeks, you can do a budget and set it and it's done. But as a person with irregular income, it's a living document. You have to update what you made each month, and you have to like be resilient about it, and you have to organize and track everything. But I had a friend, I won't say who it was, but he made good money playing, and for some reason, like this guy, his lights will always get turned off. I mean, crazy stuff. His cell phone would get turned off, and it was like the money will just be sitting on the counter. I'm like, dude, you have the money here, but it was just like the creativity was super high there, but it was just not thinking about when is this bill due, you know? Right. So something as simple as a sheet that has, I'm trying to think of the people in New Orleans that, not Duke Energy, that's here. Energy, March 15th, $100. That's all it is, right? But it's a visual, because what it does, it helps you to know how much you made, how much you owe, and then the best part is what you have left over, because you really can't start getting to the savings until you get to the leftover, the overflow. Right. Absolutely. And that's what it helps you to see how that cash flow goes. And so once you get used to that, it's important, like I said again, for musicians in particular, especially in New Orleans, because of those seasons. You know, everybody knows New Orleans has those dry seasons. You have like from the beginning of the year up to Jazz Fest, where it's like, okay, you can play 3-4 times a day if you really hustle, right? And then you hit June. and it gets hot, and hurricane season, then it gets drill about September, right?
Yeah.
So something like a budget also does, what it does is if you're making this money consistently, then what it does is it helps you see, okay, you know what, every month I have $500 worth of bills due every month. I'm making surplus, so let me figure out, I'm going to have 4 months of drought. So I need at least $2,000 I gotta have to pay these bills. They're not going anywhere. You making that surplus, this document tells you, okay, each month set aside this for what I'm getting. I got to overflow, put this away. So I know I won't go broke. I know I can eat. I know me and my babies won't be on the street, that kind of thing. So that's the first one. I think you can't even get to the saving part until you start with a budget. Like I said, it's as simple as what it is, what you make, when it's due, or who you owe when it's due.
Absolutely. Well, what you're talking about right now is a system. And so I always tell cats, if it's really easy if you can find a system that works for you. And personally, what I do, just the way my brain works, is I like spreadsheets, So put, I'm weird like that. So I put everything in a spreadsheet, and I've been keeping spreadsheets for so long, I can see a pattern. I'm like, oh, I know that every year at this time, I make this much. And you know what I mean? So it's like I can predict every year for decades at this point. Like, I'm weird, bro. I'm like, oh, okay, let me see, 2010. I made, okay, I know exactly how much I made every year. Also, it helps with taxes. So when it comes time to go ahead.
Yes. That's how this whole thing came up. This whole idea that when I made a post about this, I was talking to my accountant.
Yeah.
And we just talking about how so many musicians just, so things like, that some of us may take for granted that we do, not everyone does it. Like I said, putting a system in place, something that's simple. It can be you're a spreadsheet guy. You can have somebody that has an app. I have about 4 or 5 systems. I have a spreadsheet. I have actually, I write down columns of what's there. I have this tracker app that tells me, what I've made. I can break it down, know who I owe. I can go back, like I said, 2016. I can see what I made. I can see what I paid. What my taxes were, and it makes it easy. When I go to my account, I'm like, he's just like, everything's there. I don't have to ask you a question. Just let me copy now. So So that's key. And I'm gonna get into more detail with that when I do some of these posts. But once you get a budget, then the next thing, the most important thing, is the savings. Greg, what are you talking about? And there's different types of savings. There's not, everything is just isn't savings. You just don't take money and throw it in an account. That's, again, you're not planning. And then when you're not planning, your money is going to slip away. So you want to have the emergency fund, right? I feel like you should start with that first. I believe you should try to get at least $1,000 in your account first. That's a account, a number I think you can attain to. Get there first. When you save and forget about everything else, you get to this $1,000, right? That's your cutoff point. Once you stop, and then in my mind you start paying off debt. Okay, but that's another thing. I'm just talking about savings now. You get to that point where you get $1,000, and then you want to grow that $1,000. Now, the amount is based on you. What a lot of financial advisors will say, they say try to get 3 to 6 months, right? A minimum of 3 months. And what that 3 months is you, what are your debt? What's your debt? What's it going to take you to get through a month? Not the extras, not, if I want to go hang out with the boys on the weekend, like what is it going to take you to take care of your responsibilities for 3 months? You save that in your account, right? And you don't touch it. It's called an emergency fund. What's an emergency? Your car breaks down. You don't have any gigs and you got to pay your rent. That's an emergency. Emergency isn't, man, I saw those hot Jordans just came out. That is nice. I want to take this trip to blah, blah, blah. I want to take this trip to, whatever. Or, and like, this is going to hit a lot of people. Oh, I just got my $1,400 check from the government and I'm about to go blah, blah, blah. No, that is not the time to do this. This is going to be key, because I know musicians are very fortunate in this time, because we finally were able to qualify for things like unemployment and get these checks. This is not the time to splurge. This is the time to be disciplined. So the emergency fund is key. I try to get up to 6 months to a year, but at least 3 months. That gives you a good cushion. The next type of saving account you want to have is saving for for a big event, right? Like those one-offs where for me, I'm going to the studio, right? I knew I was going to go to the studio. So I'm saving because that's going to be this one-time event this year that I'm saving for. Some people call it a sinking fund. It's just money you're putting into that's specific for something. And now this could be where, okay, I am going on a trip. This is where that money goes. I want to go on a trip.
Vacation,
okay?
Could be your recording session, could be your wedding, whatever. Yeah.
Right.
Exactly.
$2 Tuesdays,
Hey, exactly. But see, what you're doing is, and see, that's cool. You call $2 Tuesdays. You're giving you're giving your money an intention. It's an intent with it. This is intent for this. Now this ain't an emergency if I can have some. And then the third one that I like, there's many others, but the third one I like to talk about is your retirement account, right?
Absolutely.
Now I'm not going to go into like a whole bunch of investments because that's already somebody who holds a current license to talk about rules about that. But the basics are a Roth account or an IRA. All right, these are retirement accounts, and the only difference, one is an account that you put money into before any taxes are taken out, which means you get that break, you get to deduct that from your income. It's just like gone before they ever see it. The other is that's the IRA, the traditional IRA. That's what it's called. Yeah. The Roth IRA is, okay, I've already paid taxes on this money, so I'm putting this in afterwards. But and so I don't want to get too far into that, but they both have limits. They have certain amounts you can put in. I think it's like $6,000 maybe for an individual now, but they have limits you could put into those accounts. And what's cool about a retirement account is, and you could do the numbers, but this guy was telling me, like, if let's say if you're a musician, right, and you're 30, or no, not 30, you're just out of school for whatever reason, you got some money. If you can put the maximum usually $6,000 in that account, every year, if you can do that, be disciplined, which I know if you can do that, and let's say it's something like a mutual fund because it's kind of safe and the rates have been pretty steady for the last 30 years. Just something small, not even big. By the time you're retirement age, you legitimately would be a millionaire. There's this advisor he wrote this book called The Everyday Millionaire, and he interviewed like thousands and thousands of millionaires, right? And most of them became millionaires from retirement accounts, 401k plans. And people don't realize that is a tool that the government put in place, but it's a tool that we can take advantage of, because if you do it consistently, 30 years down the road, you really would. It's an easy way to save. So you got $2 Tuesdays. You take however many you can do for $2 Tuesdays and do that for a whole year. See how much money you got.
Look, I've been saving for the last 5 years, and let me tell you, when we go, it's gonna be crazy.
You have a good time. Look,
Tuesday.
Will, I'll tell you this with retirement savings. People like, oh, I don't have extra money to be saving. But if you look at the average cost of a car, it's around $364 a month.
Yes.
If you finance a car, you only gotta just not finance your car and then save a little less than $200 more, and there's just $6,000 a year. And most of the time your car is parked anyway, so you don't really need that. You just need to get a car that's going to get you to where you're going, get you a used car for $5,000, and
Darrian, that's something that is huge what you said. You said, like car payments, houses and car payments are usually the two biggest debts that we have. That's what we consider good debt, if you want to call debt good. Where you live and how you get around. But a lot of times, unfortunately, sometimes we're in a society of overconsumption. And so that's where it's the planning and sacrifice comes. If this car for $5,000 can get you from point A to point B, let's say you're in New Orleans, you never leave New Orleans because all your gigs in New Orleans in the first place. You got the streetcar, you got the bus. I mean, instead of buying a $25,000 car, that you said you take that money that you saved up, that sinking fund you saved up for this car, and like you said, you take that $200 a month, and there you go. God, you get 50 years old and you get arthritis, can't do anything else. You have a safety net now. You know, you don't have to be one of those musicians who are 80 years old and still up and down Bourbon Street trying to play a gig because you can't afford to stop.
Or when something happened to your ass, we ain't got to pay for your GoFundMe because I'm tired of paying for y'all GoFundMes, man. Hey, save your money, man.
Oh yeah,
that's all I'm saying.
You got jail.
Will, yes. I do want to make a public service announcement while we're here. We are not professionals, so this is for entertainment purposes only.
Yes.
So don't sue us if you do what we say and it don't work out for you. All right, so let's carry on.
Man, but you know, Will,
thank you. I made sure I put it on my post. I was like, I'm not a financial. I don't have 2 licenses. I'm sharing with you what I've learned and personal things that work.
That's right.
Because like listening to all of the things that you said, you just dropped, I mean, amazing advice. And for the most part, you know, we haven't dug into numbers or anything extremely complicated yet. And, you know, for everyone watching or anyone who's about to watch, you know, I think everything that, you know, for me, it all comes down to live below your means. You said that a little bit earlier. And as long as you don't live above your means, like, I think that's like the plan to success as a musician or in anything in life, really. And, you know, I think I see like everyone comes from different financial backgrounds and their families and things like that. But I think, you know, you know, live below your means. You know, you never know when the shit's going to hit the fan. The shit will always hit the fan at some point. Like, you know, my car blew up in January. My car got broken into in December. Like, everything went crazy.
Oh, wow.
And when you're talking about the savings account, I was just so blessed and lucky to have the opportunity to have saved some money to replace those things. And so, you know, just look, spend less than you make.
Dude, like you and Darrian, I know you guys are both, you know, toured a lot, you know, and you know, a lot of times if you're fortunate to tour, you may get a little excess than you would plan a normal gig, right? And that's a perfect opportunity, like you say, you know, you out for a month or so, you get a big chunk. Take that big chunk and spread it out. You know, just think about it first. Think about what you have to go through. Don't just like let it go because I got it. So, you know,
you're right. Getting to a big argument. It was like someone was like, "You making all this money now? We should get a nice house." And I'm like, I'm living. I'm paying the same $650 or $800. Like, you know, because I don't know when the gig's going to end. Really.
Right.
COVID, it ended.
And COVID. Oh yeah, and then COVID, and then something like COVID happens.
Man, I tell you, Will, I had quite a few years back, I had like a couple really good years, man. Like, you know, and because of my discipline, like I'm on the gig, I didn't go anywhere. I didn't go out to drink after the gig. I was like, you know, I'm gonna pay my student loans off with all this money. And that's what I did, but I didn't do nothing. Everybody's like, what you doing after the gig? I'm going to bed, dog. I'm going to bed. You know, Cass is having fun, drinking this and that. But now, it's expensive. But now I'm free, baby. So, you know, all years later, and that's important, man. Hey, but Will, we're getting close to time, man, and I don't want to miss an opportunity to let you talk. You making a country record, right?
It's kind of close. It's a folk record. It's folk.
Okay. Oh yes. Oh well. Look, man. Country our music. First of all, let's not get twisted. Huh? Country folk music, dog. We created that shit all day. But
and that's actually one reason why. That's deep. That's kind of where I'm going to as well. That's the vibe I'm on.
Absolutely. So tell us about it, man.
Okay. Well, Greg knows this project started probably 3 years ago. Because I came to Greg one day at Starbucks, like, man, I got this idea. Here's my music, but I don't really know where to go. You know, because I'm known as a upright player, electric player. I play mostly jazz, you know, gospel. That's what I'm known.
Ukulele bass player too, man.
Ukulele bass. that's my journey. Yeah. Shout out to Kala music, Kala brand music. But I grew up in the church, right, playing. And I always had this gospel in my ear. But in the Carolinas, it's a huge folk state, right? So, you know, James Taylor's from the Carolinas. I mean, like, just all this music is here. So from the age of 6 to 12, when I was in elementary school, my music teacher was playing like John Denver, you know, Take Me Home, Country Road to the Place I Belong, you know, that whole thing. You know, when we were watching public access PBS television in class, that's what's playing in the background. So this has been a resort in my mind, not even picking up on it. So, you know, fast forward, you know, the first couple of years after college, I'm writing music. I'm a jazz. I'm writing jazz tunes, right? I'm writing jazz tunes. Maybe 1 out of 7 actually sounded good. But I'm like, I'm a jazz. I'm making this cool jazz. So eventually, I got an acoustic guitar, right? I got an acoustic guitar, and it opened my ears. Like I went back to like John Denver and James Taylor, because I started hearing the sound. So I started writing, and everything had lyrics to it. Actually, I started journaling. I went through some issues, relationship issues, and the way I got through it was writing songs. But I never intended anything for them. So I did this for a period of years. Then 3 years ago, I realized I had like an album's worth of music from like heartbreak, basically.
Wow.
So, and you know, so the songs were kind of a little bit sadder in nature. And I was like, well, I don't want to like depress people with my music. But then I kind of sat down and thought, and I was like, well, I want to tell people my story. I want to encourage others, because 3 things that when I was going through these things, I wanted somebody who could tell me it's going to be okay. But it could be anybody. It had to be somebody who had gone through what I went through, because it wasn't going to mean the same if you couldn't be empathetic to what I was going through. And I wanted somebody that can show me how to heal from it. So I was like, you know what, this music can help people. So I basically have this album of experience. I call it experiences, results, and revelations. And that's what this album tells the stories of. It's just it's like those clusters. That's what. And so it's gonna be dope. My boy Jameson's producing the album. Jameson Ross, shout out to Jameson. He's gonna produce the album. I got this array of musicians that I've met along the way. I'm singing on it, which is, y'all pray for your boy, because I'm going to be singing and playing. I was telling Greg I guess I'm gonna be the Bob Dylan version of Esperanza Spalding. This low, raspy, like I said, type of thing going in, but it's super exciting. He's here as a leader. I love all the bands I play with as a sideman. This is the first time for me to kind of get my heart out. And like I'm doing with the finances, this is a way for me to try to use what I've gone through to encourage others, and to let them know it's going to be okay, and let them know it's okay to feel the way you feel. So
absolutely,
it's going to be a folk mix. It's going to be a folk and gospel mix album. So I'm really excited to get those vibes. I'm sure it's been done before, but I'm really excited about having this gospel vibe along with the folk and soul there. So it's going to be
my
dope.
Man. That's beautiful, man. Yeah. That's beautiful.
Well, when the record comes out, we're gonna have you back on, and
absolutely
to share some of the record and help pump the new debut.
Yeah, and I also want to do that because this is gonna be like self-funded, right? And I want to I want to share, and I want to journal with everybody. This is something you do yourself. This is the steps I took during these next 2, 3, 4 months. I'm going to be embarking on how to fund this, and this is how I save for this. So I wanted this to be a practical application as well.
Absolutely.
Of what we're talking about. So
Well, all of that is beautiful, man. How can we connect with you? All the people out there listening, how can they find you on the webs, and where you at?
Sure. So you can find me Instagram at Wilbur Thompson Music. You can find me Facebook at Wilbur Thompson Music. You can find me on YouTube at Wilbur Thompson. I think it's just Wilbur Thompson. My website should be going live. I'm probably going to, once the album gets going, it's going to probably go live in probably next month or so. That's also Wilbur Thompson Music. So if you just remember Wilbur, WILBR, like Charlotte's Web, Wilbur, or the bass player Wilbur Ware, Wilbur Thompson Music. You can find me wherever you want to.
All right.
And
perfect,
I will
be
be doing like a weekly for the next 4 weeks, probably doing a weekly post or some of this financial information we talked about, but a little bit more in detail. So
okay.
Awesome.
Love it. Love it.
That's beautiful.
Yeah. Love it.
I just saw that press picture of you, and I forgot, like, you're also like the most dapper, best dressed dude ever. every time I saw you, always wearing suspenders and a bow tie, looking like
suspenders and bow ties.
Right.
Suspenders and bow ties.
That's right.
That's my thing, man. Go back to the Harlem Renaissance, the original folk music.
Come on now. But look, Will, man, it's been beautiful, man. Thank you so much for coming on the Working Artist Project, man.
Thank you, guys. Thank you for having me. Thank you, guys.
Absolutely. My name is Darrian Douglas.
And I'm Gregory Agid. Thank you so much, Will. I really appreciate your time.
Hey, appreciate it,
All right.
guys.
We'll catch y'all later. Peace.